Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 15th day of June, 2023. Well, my granddaughter graduated from kindergarten. Yesterday was her last day. They videoed the graduation. It was very cool, and my daughter-in-law took a bunch of pictures and several videos and all of that and sent them to us. It was so sweet. Uh, she's really growing up. She'll be 6 on July 13th, and she's just changed so much just being in school this year. Um, so we're really proud of her and proud of all the kids, but she's just really excelled, and uh, we're just excited to see what's going to happen next year in first grade. So anyway, little grandma talk at the beginning of things here today. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. And we had 37 degrees last night, and so we went ahead and we covered the beans and brought some of the stuff in off the deck, and then we turned sprinklers on about 4 this morning. My husband went outside and turned them on. He had got them set up the night before last night. And because if you do that, see, it'll if there's a freeze, because you never know here, even at 37, the wind chill could come through. We didn't have very much wind last night, though, so we felt pretty good about it. So we didn't cover that. We just went ahead and watered it. If you do that and you water it until, the sun's starting to come up, then we do it for a couple hours. He turned it off at 6 this morning. But if you do that, if there is frost, if it does freeze, there'll be like this ice layer that's on the plants. And if you just let the water melt that off, then you're usually pretty good. So hopefully it all worked out. We won't know for a little while, but I guess it takes a little while. Yeah, probably mid-morning we'll know if anything really got bit last night. I don't think so, though. So anyway, gardening in Central Oregon is not for the faint of heart. We're depending on where you live, we're about 3,000 feet above sea level. The next city over is about 5,000 feet above sea level. So you're way high up, and so it's a little bit crazy. Here we have for the rune for the above side of things, we have Manaz. Manaz is basically a bind rune in and of itself, very complex. It's got Dagaz in it, it's Gebo, it's got Vunyo forward and reversed, Laguz forward and reversed, Kenaz everywhere in all directions. So it's comprised by a lot of different runes, just normal Elder Futhark runes. I can't talk this morning. I don't know what I'm going to do. But anyway, what we have here, though, with Manaz, it's about integration. It's about humanity. It's the thought rune. It's memory. It's the individual within society. So there's this collective aspect, collective awareness of societal norms and values and whatnot with Manaz. And if you look at Vunyo here, I'll just draw this out so you can see just how complex this thing is. But with Manaz, it's similar to Ewaz, only a little bit more complex. But here you have Manaz. But in the middle there, you can see 2 P's. And that's Vunyo, forward and reversed. Okay, and Vunyo is about fellowship. And so there's that integrated aspect of Manaz right there in terms of fellowship, coming together in some kind of collective understanding, societally, basically. You have Gebo in the center, which is balanced energy exchange, or the gift of reciprocity. So again, you see how they sort of all interact there. Laguz, forward and reversed. You have flow from spirit, basically, and bringing higher awareness into your whole awareness. With Gebo, you can terminate the ends. There would be Isa on each end, and that's higher awareness there. But here you've got Dagaz, okay, and it's basically a balanced type of an experience there, the end of one phase and the beginning of another. So there could be some kind of future-oriented issue with Manaz as well. But then when you go back here and you look at Gebo, you're looking at Kenaz, again, which is the torch or the light of spirit, in all directions, you see there. And so it's almost like at this top here, you're as an as above, so below rune in that respect, because you're drawing in spirit and then expressing that in your relationships with other people. And again, there's this collective aspect of self that could also be thought that way. If you think of all that you're seeing as a projection of your own consciousness, of the soul's consciousness, and you're looking at and with everyone doing that, see, there's all these souls coming together in this collective aspect of self, basically, expressing that integration with one another. So Manas is an extremely powerful rune. Let's take a look, though, on the below side here, what the Geomancy runes have to say. I'm going to throw down the 4 elemental runes. I'll just do it over here on the desk. And we'll see what we've got. Well, okay. It looks like we have Albus. Now, Albus is about, it's the sage. It's wisdom. It's the complement to Rubius. You're dealing with Rubius, it's a little more... misuse of force or ego run amok, and whereas Albus, on the other hand, again, is more the expression of higher wisdom. And so in your integrations with other people then today, or collaboration or what have you, it's got to be in a way that is respectful, that respects harmony, that respects reciprocity, that invokes spirit into that whole experience, so that higher awareness is governing things instead of, the reactive ego. So that's an interesting way to start out the reading, isn't it? Very positive. Sometimes Thursdays are not so positive. It's like, oh. And then I love the ones where it's Monday, where it's like it's total, it's all esoteric, and you just have to sit and think about it. It's like, oh geez, just what direction do I need to go? But I tend not to do so much of that. I think that a lot of this is again, it's how you're going to see it. Are you going to try to understand the bigger picture of things, or are you just going to react to everything that you see? And I don't know. I think in this day and age, we have way too much reaction going on and not enough thinking. It's like, okay, I just heard what I heard. Does it even make sense? Instead, people just believe it instantly and react to it instantly. It's how social media thrives, basically. So let's take 3 cards and see what we have. We have one from Wands, one from Pentacles, and one from the Major Arcana, the Wheel of Fortune. So let's go ahead and start with the Ace of Wands. Wands is the fire element. It's motivation. It's invoking things. It's creativity. It's the spark of life, new opportunities. And here you have the hand reaching out from the darker cloud, the hand reaching out from the unknown, basically, and very powerfully pushing forward a club that still has growth on it. So there's so much energy in the fire element and in the suit of wands that, things tend to grow in spite of the fact that it's, been cut off from its source, essentially, not for, i.e. the ground, but where is the will really coming from? Is it coming from, for the tree? Is it the strength of the sun? Is it the strength of spirit drawing it up out of the earth, you see? And so it doesn't actually need its connection there with the earth at this point. I was saying this at another reading recently. We had cut down some cottonwood trees, some small ones, up at the irrigation ditch. That ditch doesn't belong to us, and so it belongs to the irrigation company, but it goes through our property, and so we try to keep it clean, and we take a weed eater to it at the beginning of the year, and we make sure everything's nice and clear in the ditch, because other people get water from it as well. And so we had some cottonwood that had seeded from our next door neighbor's property on the ditch, and so we just decided, it's probably time that we cut those things down. Well, they're on the ground up there in a row, right, in a pile, and they're still growing. There's still branches growing out of them, and there wasn't anything on them when we put them on the ground there. My husband had cut all of it off, right? And And so it really shows you how life finds a way. And that's really, if you look at the fire element and the suit of wands, that's really what's happening. Life is finding a way throughout that suit. And that's what we have here. So perhaps there's some new opportunities coming your way today or over the next few days that you really need to, that could be integrated with other people, that could involve collaboration. If we're looking at manas and we're looking at albus, if you don't want to see it that way, if you want to see manas as just the individual within society, and then albus from there, you're going to interact with the rest of your experience. Maybe this involves, maybe you have a business and you've got some new customers coming your way. That's going to be quite lucrative. Well, how you interact with those people matters, and you're going to have to do it from a place of wisdom, higher wisdom, in order to keep that energy flowing toward you. So that could be one issue with the one idea with the Ace of Wands. So that's the number 1 there. We next have the 4 of Pentacles, and then the Wheel of Fortune is 10, and that reduces to 1. So we've got 1s on each side. So new beginnings, new opportunities, and then the turning of the wheel at the end of it. But here we have, and this is an interesting card. You can kind of read it in a positive way or perhaps a less positive way. Let's talk about with the new opportunities, if you want to be able to be successful about it all, and the wheel with fortune, prosperity, cycles, all of that, and success, then you may want to be a little bit conservative in how you manage your funds, especially if you're a business owner. This may be a time where say you have a business that's seasonal, and this might be the time where you're making your money. But on the other hand, maybe you make your money in the fall and winter, and so in the summertime maybe it's too hot, and you can't really do things in the summertime, and so it's just way too hot, and so most of your work takes place in the cooler months of the year, or vice versa. So you have to, during the time where you're not having so much business, you can either diversify perhaps, or you can, which might be something to do with the Ace of Wands. You might find something new to occupy your time during that time and bring in some income that way. But if you do, but even if you don't do that, you have to be very conservative during that time. But even if you're starting something new here today, starting a new business, or you're thinking about doing that, you have to have a way of managing the investment money that you're going to be putting into it. If maybe you can get a loan from the bank, but even with that, you have to be careful with that money. If you're using your own existing money, you have to be careful with that money. Here we have a picture of the king holding fast to his wealth here, displaying it on his crown, and having it as a foundation underneath his feet. Now, one way of looking at this, especially with the 4, you can look at this as being too miserly and hanging on to things that realistically he should be sharing with the kingdom behind him. But because his back is to the kingdom, is he hoarding it for himself, or is he sharing it? We don't know. I tend to read it that way. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be that way this time. I don't think so. Here you see the line of demarcation, the dual line behind. This is where he is now. Maybe he's taken all that he's gained from his life in the past, and he's ready to go with it. He's showing people what he's got here, that he's got the investment necessary to take this new opportunity and do something positive with it. But he's going to be somewhat conservative with it as well. Again, he's stepping on it here. He's holding fast to it here. Even though he's displaying it here, there's this feeling of, I'm going to hang on to this. And again, sometimes I read it as he's hanging on to it for himself because his back is to the kingdom. But what if that's not what he's doing here? What if he's saying, we're ready to go, we're ready to expand, and I'm doing this on behalf of the kingdom? The kingdom in this regard could represent the family. And so it's a risk that he's ready to take, but he's doing it from the standpoint of the earth element here, and what's going to meet his material security, what's going to ensure his material security, what's going to meet his financial needs, and all of that. And again, if this is something where you're going to want to start a new business, you've had this idea, it's been floating around, you've been talking it over with people that you know, maybe your partner, your spouse, your family, but at the same time, you're getting some feedback, right, from all of them. Well, what about this? Have you thought about this? And what about that concern? And what can you do here? And all of that. So you've had these discussions, and now it's like you're ready to go. And you're ready to take that leap of faith into something new that you seem to be well prepared to do. The money may not be money. This may not actually be about a financial investment. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe this is about the experience that you've gained along the way, that can then be marketed, if you will, in the new business. Maybe you're opening a shop of your own. Maybe you're a mechanic, for example, and you've got all this experience, and you're hanging on to it. It's your foundation. It's what you have to offer to other people. And so it could be something like that we're talking about here. But at the minimum, whatever financial investment you're making, whether it's experience-based or money-based, and typically it's both, then you're going to want to be conservative about what you're doing so that you make sure that you're still there a year from now, and you can then build on everything. It takes about, they say, 3 to 5 years in a business unless you just walk in and it's gangbusters the whole way, because that can happen too. But typically it takes about 3 to 5 years to really get comfortable with what you're doing and get into the type of routine that can be replicated, in other words. And so that's what keeps you sustainable in your business going forward. And we end with the Wheel of Fortune here. We see the hermetic depictions of air, fire, water, and earth in the corners. We see Mercury, sulfur, and salt surrounding the wheel. You see tarot in there in the middle. You see the glyphs for those as well. Mercury's up here. I don't know which is which here. But you see basically there's a lot of unknown about this because you never know where the wheel is going to turn and if it's going to turn in your favor. That's why you see the elemental the elemental depictions in the corners there sitting atop darker clouds, because there's always this sense of newness. With the 10 numerology, you're looking, it reduces to 1, and that's new beginnings. It's also talent and leadership and, that kind of thing. Motivation, innovation, all that. But, innovation is probably more the 5 energy. But you've got ones on either side. You've got the beginning and, the prosperity and the fortune by doing what you were supposed to do, right? And keeping things flowing along the way and keeping the security stable, essentially, instead of taking a whole bunch of risk, that maybe isn't going to pan out. When you first start out, you want to be a little bit careful about that in a business and not spend so much money that you can't recoup it. Because again, if your business has some seasonal issues with it, or you have some downtime where you don't have as many customers walking in the door, maybe you don't even have any, and you have to still be able to pay the bills, right? And so you can't go and spend and have it all go away. It's got to be there for you in those times where the lean times, basically. And again, a lot of businesses are cyclical in nature. It's not like a grocery store where you've always got customers. If it's a recreational oriented business, if you have snow in the summertime, if you have a boating business where you fix boats or whatever, and maybe you don't have any business in the wintertime. And if you don't have other types of stuff that you do as well, then maybe you really are going to have a difficult time in the winter. So you have to be a little bit risk averse, basically, a little more conservative here and hang on to things to carry you through, especially if this is a new endeavor. And when you're looking at both Menes and Albus, again, Albus is talking about wisdom and about having that ability. Even if you don't have as much as you'd like to have, maybe you know someone who does, and you can seek out some advice from that person or a variety of people that can give you some kind of even idea support, basically giving you ideas about how to do one thing or another to sustain yourself in business. That's true for a lot of new businesses. People, their customers will come in and say, wow, this is great. Make sure you do that. I have a business and I learned these things along the way, and they're sharing them with you. So don't be afraid to again, and Manaz is also a part of that as well. When you look up Gebo, the gift of reciprocity, the balanced energy exchange, you're basically getting that information from somebody else, and that's a true gift of how to stay in business, how to keep this new opportunity going, to where it really supports you and your family, for example. With Manaz, you're looking at such a complex energy there. With that, the individual within society, how are you going to do business? Are you going to do it with integrity, or are you going to cut corners? How are you going to do this? Is it going to be from a place of higher wisdom, or is it just going to do what you got to do to get by? And I guarantee you, there's too many businesses out there like that right now. You don't want to be one of those. And you want to be able to have the integrity necessary to do right by your customers. And all of that. So it just seems to me that this is really, I think that there's a new opportunity out there for any of you that you might want to start thinking about if you haven't been already. And maybe this is the time to really get serious about that and see if it's a viable option for you. I mean, it may not be, not at this point, but you can remember that when you do, if you do, or when you do, it's something that it literally explodes onto the scene when you do it. It's exciting. It's scary. It's risky. It's just something where you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But if you take a conservative approach to it, and understand who you are in the broader scheme of things with it, and how you're going to interact with the people you do business with, and whether it's vendors or whether it's customers, you have to decide, how am I going to do business? How am I going to integrate with other people in a way that keeps them coming back? And so you're going to do that from the standpoint of Albus, which is a little more it's the sage in the room, who you look to, the trusted advisor that you look to. Ultimately, you're going to have to be that trusted advisor for yourself, though, at some point. But until then, it doesn't hurt to seek outside assistance, and so that you keep your head on straight and you move in a positive direction. Overall, the numerology 4, 5, and 6, again, 6 could be a number that is related to Manaz. Manaz is the 20th rune of the Elder Futhark, so that would be a 2 energy. But again, you're looking at 1 and 1. That's 2, right? So again, I think that the new opportunity can lead to success. But again, it's got to be with a measured approach that really takes a look at the whole picture and tries to anticipate all kinds of things that can go wrong, anticipate things that can go right, and try to maximize it all with who you are in the broader scheme of things, with the people that you're going to do business with. So that's cool. It's fun when a reading can just really focus in on one thing. That's kind of fun. It's also fun when it can go a variety of directions. It just makes the write up a little bit. I do a reading notes thing on Patreon, and I also publish it over on Substack and Medium, and so I write it up there. I don't write it up on the blog. I just post the video on the blog. But if you want to see the write up, sometimes it's fun to just follow along. I'll put things in there maybe that I don't say, or explain things maybe a little bit better there. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't, though. But you can look at that over on the links to those places are below the video here. If you click on more, it opens up a box, and it gives the website address. Stepping Aside, it's imsteppingaside.com, but the web address is there if you forget. And also so the Substack and the Medium and the Patreon, who I am over there and all that, and how to get there to see all of that. But other than that, I'm losing my voice already. The pollen is so heavy outside right now. It's just nuts. I go outside, I come in, my eyes are just, a mess. So then I have to have nettle in my tea to try to calm that down. And I haven't had any of that yet this morning. So anyway. But now that the field's been cut, maybe it'll be a little bit better. We had all cut, but I guess grasses are really high around here right now. We don't have so much oak unless somebody plants one. I have a very small oak tree. It's not doing very well where we put it. I think we're gonna have to move it, but I guess that's also a problem. And walnut, and we don't have any walnut trees here. So they do in the valley, but we don't have them here. But I guess those are the three primary ones that are running amok for people here. So anyway, that's it, I guess. Thanks for watching, and have a good weekend. If you're growing a garden, I hope things are doing well for you. Things are progressing for us. We again, it's early, so but it's exciting. So I love gardening, and I love this time of year, especially when you can see the progress everything makes, and maybe you do different things every year, or you put in new stuff. We did this year, and in different places and stuff, and so it's kind of fun to watch all those things get started, and then it all just sort of takes over, and it's huge, and then the harvesting starts. That's always loads of fun. So anyway, right now I'm just harvesting a lot of dandelion and a lot of plantain and stuff like that. And the red clover is starting to come on. The blossoms are coming on. And so I've been gathering a lot of that, and starting to gather the red clover. But I do that for my teas and tinctures and whatnot. And then eventually the other herbs start coming in, and I'm able to get what I need there. So, but it's nice in the beginning of the season just to start out and do yard tea, and I just get it from my yard, or if I've got some, like I grow nettle and cleavers and chickweed in pots, and so I can get all that there, and then you have a nice lovely tea in the morning when you combine all of it together. So keeps the system flushed out. So that's not, I have to go do that now. I have to go and make some tea. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll click subscribe and come back and join me again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.